Well, if we've learned anything from these movies about famous and genius musicians, if you really want to succeed, if you really want to do it, you've got to have an awful father. Love and Mercy is the name of the movie. It's the story of the Beach Boys, and more specifically, the lead singer and creative force behind the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, as played by Paul Dano in his younger years, kind of 60s, low 70s era, and John Cusack in his older years as he's dealing with some legal issues as well as some medical issues and kind of the drama that happened later on in his life, even just a few years ago. As it goes back and forth between those worlds, we follow who this man is, who the people around him are, and how he has impacted the world of music. Unfortunately for me, only one of those worlds really worked, and that's disappointing. I was really excited about this movie. I love the Beach Boys. I love any group that can do that harmony thing, and not only do harmony like the Beach Boys did, but play around with it and do some really interesting harmonies and interesting musical choices. And knowing that Brian Wilson was the creative force behind that and the genius that would go out on a limb and do these crazy things, that stuff was phenomenal in this movie. I got excited about that. Whenever we were in 60s era, Beach Boys, Brian Wilson, figuring out Pet Sounds and all the amazing albums, I was loving it. I was engaged, I was excited, I was learning stuff, and I bought the character. Paul Dano is great as a young Brian Wilson. He does a really good job here. Unfortunately, every time the movie would then kick into older Brian Wilson, I just didn't buy it as much. Now, part of that's the performance. Unfortunately, John Cusack, I do not think is that great in this, and I love Cusack. As an actor, I think he's interesting and fun, but here, and maybe it's just a hard role to play, here he just doesn't feel believable to me, and that's unfortunate, because that older stuff is interesting. There's some interesting stuff there, but the way the story is told and the way he plays the role, I just never bought in. I wasn't emotionally invested in the later in life stuff. The early stuff, completely emotionally invested. And so for me, then it becomes two different movies, right? It becomes the movie I want to see and the movie that keeps interrupting the movie I want to see. And that's not a great movie-going experience. Having said that, I still overall think it's a movie worth seeing, especially if you love the Beach Boys. If you don't love that music and you're not interested in knowing some of what's behind it, then maybe you won't get as much out of it. By the way, I should mention Elizabeth Banks and Paul Giamatti, also pretty incredible in this. And what's interesting is they're both in the later version. The two actors that I really liked are in the part of the movie that was boring to me. Go figure that one out, the human brain. Anyhow, if you love the Beach Boys, I think there's something here for you. If not, maybe rent it if you're just kind of interested in seeing these performances and this story. Then you'll have a decent time, I think. Overall, for me, Love and Mercy, though it engaged me for parts of the movie, unfortunately not for the whole movie, was still good enough to get around a B- for me. Thanks for checking out this review. Stay tuned for the best ever challenge here in a bit. First, I want to let you know some stuff you can do. You can click on the cards for a look at other movie reviews. You can click there for a look at the website. YourMovieFriend.com link should be in there as well as donation. If you want to donate. And by the way, I'm picking a movie from somebody who donates each month to review, kind of a pay per review. So in the comments, if you do donate, let me know what you want me to review. Also, I'm Periscoping now. If you'll follow Aaron Deister on Periscope after I go see movies every weekend, as soon as I'm out of the theater, I'm popping on Periscope live to talk about my initial thoughts and talk that over with kind of this community about, questions you might have. And some of you have been popping in on those. Thank you for doing that. So follow Aaron Deister on Periscope if you want to be involved in that. Other than that, you can hit the subscribe button, which should be in the lower corner, and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Best ever challenge for this movie are movies where the same character was played by two different people in the same movie. And that's been done here and there. But my favorite, which you can guess in the comments, is the one that tells a story that you might not believe. Ewan McGregor and Albert Finney play the dual roles. So take a guess at mine in the comments and leave yours. What's your favorite dual role type performance? I'd love to hear yours as well. As always, here's 5 extra seconds if you'd like to hit subscribe.